would like to tell you my story. My story is, when I was little, these two people, my mom and my dad, I love them very much. Kathy and Jordan right now. You might have heard of Joint Plumbing Company if you tune in on my video. There's three of us. We've all been adopted, but you'll hear about that later on in my story. This story is about adoption and how lucky you'll be if you ever get adopted. I know there are kids in Texas who still haven't got adopted since I was born. Anyways, we lived in Texas, and then we moved to Dresden. Now we're probably going to move to Martin. We lived in Dresden 5 years. My mom lived in Texas 13 years. Well, now they wanted a child, one child. They wanted a boy or a girl. It didn't really matter to them right then. But they had a big list. They signed up on a list in Texas, and there's lots of kids in Texas that don't have a home. I'm lucky that I didn't grow up to be 16 and have to have no family. That's what happens when you grow up too old in whatever, that terrible place. Well, I went to daycare, but that's getting ahead of the story. Well, they signed up on a list, and there was like 100 girls. Like 100 girls signed up on a list. They were still thinking over it, but out of all those girls, there was one boy, and it was me. They looked at the picture. I wasn't that cute back then when I was a baby because I had tumors and a whole bunch of other stuff. But after getting over the tumors and stuff, they got to hold me for the first time. I was crying, but the minute they held me, I wasn't crying anymore. I was happy and glad that I was hoping that they would adopt me. Now I know why I stopped crying, because I finally would know that I'm with the parents that I was supposed to be with the whole time. I'm thankful that I was able to come to my parents. But then something happened. They adopted me, but then some people came and took me away. My parents waited and waited for months, but then they finally got me back. My dog was even sad, but when I came back, they were all happy again. Then we get to the part where they signed up, where one of the doctors called and said, "Hey, we have 2 little girls over here. Would you like to adopt them?" They thought about it, and they said, "No, we can't do that." But they looked at the pictures, and their hearts just melted at the sight of those 2 little girls. They went and got them, and then we lived kind of happily ever after. But I recited a poem for my mom and dad right now. Roses are red and violets are blue, but my parents are better than you. I love my parents all the time. I'm glad that they adopted me, even when I cried. When they came to the hospital, I was so glad that day they took me home, and then they started to pray. For these evil people came and took me away, but that didn't stop them from starting to pray. They prayed and prayed until they couldn't pray no more. I came back home, and my dad can snore, but he was happy when I came home. So was my dog, and so was my mom. I'm glad that they adopted me that one summer, day, but I'm glad that they started to pray. I got 2 little sisters from the hospital. They're not little anymore. I'm kind of the littlest, but that doesn't stop me from loving my home. Thank you, God, again for doing this to me. I'm thankful for my mom and dad. I'm thankful for that sweet thing that happened to me when I was a baby. Now that's the end of my poem, but so far I've done so good. Depending if you say busting your chin open 2 times and getting your part of your neck cut open, being fine. But it's better than when I was a baby. And if you guys if any of these kids who are adopted are listening, please subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video and helps you understand more about it. If you would like to call me and talk more about Jesus, I would like to do so. We actually, I won't be able to reveal the church that we go to, but if you call me, I'll let you know. Call us at 731-699-0536. I hope you enjoyed this.